morning. Welcome to Bannworth Academy Ancient News. My name's Dr. Tiffany Bannworth, and I'm the founder of Bannworth Academy of Classical Education and lead adventurer. But today, I'm also your host. So here in this show, we dig deep into the mysteries of the ancient world, one expert at a time. And we bring history to life through the voices of uncovering it firsthand. Joining us today is Thomas Chaput. He's a French dendroarchaeologist. He's a trained diver specializing in underwater archaeology with a background in history, archaeology, I believe even art, and a master's in maritime and coastal archaeology. He studies ancient submerged wood to identify species, analyze tool marks, and dates finds using dendroarchaeology. His fieldwork spans sites from Greece to Croatia, uncovering stories preserved beneath the surface. How are you doing today?
Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm very good. I'm very glad to pass and to answer to your question, and I'm very excited to do it.
Well, we are so excited to have you on here today. He's joining us all the way from France. So let's just get right into it. Can you tell me what first sparked your interest in archaeology, and more specifically, the underwater archaeology?
So yeah, at first I lived in the countryside, and I'm surrounding with a lot of remaining of past, like there is a medieval castle, antiques, and I grew up in the center of everything, so I was always curious. So it got me into archaeology at first, and during the summer I was sailing a lot and diving, free diving, and I tried to mix with both passion, like going underwater and excavate. But it's not only in the salty water of sea, it's kind of also in the rivers. So yes, I tried to mix everything, and it allowed me to go on every site possible, on land or underwater, which is amazing to discover new horizons.
That is incredible. So you would definitely credit your diving background to shaping your path of this underwater archaeology. So you also specialize in archaeological wood that's found underwater. This is such a rare focus in archaeology. How did you choose it, and why is it important?
Wood is very interesting in archaeology because you can see it almost everywhere. On land, it's kind of rare because most of the time it's deteriorated or invisible. But underwater, it's very preserved. And this is a specialty which is very important because now we can see a lot of wood on shipwreck or structure or even cargo of ships. So it's important. You can show some trades, some cultures, some landscapes too. So it's amazing. And there is a few specialists about it. But it's kind of extending right now because maybe 30 years ago, it was not really important, but now we can see and focus on it because it tells a lot of stuff about it.
Well, I imagine there's not a lot of people who are trained in it as you, so you're going to be a very popular archaeologist soon. So let's keep going on to your method and your fieldwork. So how do the conditions of the underwater affect the preservation or the decay of those wooden artifacts as opposed to compared on land? Because you did say on land it kind of falls apart, but underwater it's different. So could you explain to our students exactly what is different?
It's very different. First of all, between salty water or river water, even if it's two contexts, it can change drastically. Like first, in salty water, the wood can be deteriorated by currents or even exposed to light because wood is disappearing because of light, oxygens, or creatures like the worms eating wood, eating woodworms, the Teredo navalis, which is making huge hole inside the wood and can eat and whole shipwreck.
Wow.
But in river water, it's amazing because there is no this worm, and if it's well preserved in sediment, you can find the object almost intact. There is several shipwreck, like the Arles 3 shipwreck, which is a Roman shipwreck exposed in a museum, which is completely intact. It was brick at the moment of its history, but now it's almost like the Vasa ship exposed in its condition. It's amazing.
Wow, that's incredible. So could you walk us through kind of that process of excavating a wooden object underwater from discovery to preservation?
First of all, you have to set up the thing because in water it's well preserved and when you take out of the water, it can be rotting very fast. So it has always to be wet or preserved in the water to keep it safe.
Mm-hmm.
So it's part of the programmation. When you plan your field work, you plan to have wood. So if it's big object or small object, you have to have storage to keep it wet or in water.
Oh, yeah.
Kinda light protected because you don't want the light to be aggressive to the piece.
Right.
And after it depends. If you want to just take samples to analyze the wood, you can just take like some bags with water. You cut it with a sharp tool like a razor blade or a knife, and you put it in a box. But if you take bigger objects, you have to keep it very, very safe in a crate. And after, it depends on the purpose of the object. If it's just analysis, you have to take it, analyze it, and we can put it back in the water or keep it in a storage for later. And you can also make it more durable. You make a treatment. There is some labs and it's chemical treatment. I cannot tell you all the process, but they are putting some resina inside the wood to keep the structure, and it allows us to have some perfectly shaped objects of wood now in museums. But it's always sensitive. I know that you have to control the humidity and the light of the object, but
So it's possible. So do they keep it in water the entire time, all the way to the lab and possibly back if you put it back in the water? It's always submerged?
Not submerged. It's the best for the object of wood. But you can just we use some tools to spread water on it to keep it wet. The most important stuff is to keep it wet, because if it becomes dry, the wood can take different shapes because of the dryness, and it's so full and destroyed everything.
I'm so glad you told us that, because I think people just kind of assumed until we talked to an expert like you that you just take it out of the water and drive it away, you know. And so that's wonderful that you've told us such interesting work. So also, it says you've worked in dendrochronology, and so if we're not dealing with necessarily objects made out of it, or maybe it does deal with objects that are made out of wood, do you analyze the tree rings to help determine the age and origin of the submerged wood materials? And is that in like ships and stuff too? Do you look at the tree rings, or just like an ancient tree?
No, really, we look at tree rings very important way, because we can do C14 datation of woods, but because of some effect in water, the datation are not very good, they're not very precise. So tree rings is very important, but it's really developing right now. It's important because when you read the tree rings of a wood, the pieces need to have a lot of rings to be important. If a piece is under 50 rings, it's not really good. You have to have more than 50, and you have to have a database of several measurements of wood, because a measurement without a context, without another database, it's useless. It's unfixed chronology, like you don't know where it is in the chronology. So it's very important, because wood is growing like us, and we can see some trauma or condition of growing in some pieces growing in the same place. Like when there is a fire in forest, wood can be hurt by the fire, and you can find some rings which are affected by fire, and you can find those rings in different shape and different place in the growing time of the wood, and you can know they are maybe from the same forest. Some are older, some are younger, and you can make some chronology by knowing this ring or this event. Like it's very interesting. And in shipwreck construction, it's very interesting. Like some pieces with this size, you can have we found more than 200 rings, which are amazing.
Wow.
And you can see if some pieces in a different place of the boats are from the same tree, because we are cutting several planks from one tree and one log, and you can find some place in different place, and different piece of wood are used in the different place of ship. Like you can be the hull, we are using the main pieces, the center of the log, and some planks we are using the exterior side and stuff. So it's very interesting.
Yeah, I can, now that I'm hearing more about it, I can really see why you chose this specialty. There's and you are, like I said before, going to be an intricate part of a lot of people's discovery and explanation of it. Well, so then what are the biggest challenges that you face when analyzing ancient wood, especially if it's been underwater for centuries, like you said, 200 rings?
There is the challenge is to take the samples because the problem of dendrology it's like it's destroying science. You have to cut some parts to have a section to read, so you can take this big pieces out of the ship or other elements. So it requires a lot of data, a lot of materials. And also, the conservation, you have to be careful to choose wisely which pieces you are using for the data, the measurements,
Right.
because from one piece to another, it can change all the results. And yes, it's always a science because we have to, there's always hardships because the techniques are always evolving too. You don't know if the wood is hard or soft. Some woods are very soft, and even if you took it, it's going hashes in few movements. So it's always, it's kind of hard, but it's amazing. And you have to also pay attention of the transportation of the data and the samples. Like when I was in Croatia, we took back some samples from Croatia, and you have to take these samples in your package. So it's kind of invasive, big place, taking place. So it's,
So the best piece for you to find is a large sample of hardwood. This your optimal find, yeah.
Yes.
So small and soft, not so great. Large and hard, and it is the easiest too, because it'll hold the history, right?
Yeah, not depending, as I told you before. Yeah, but 300 pieces is it's not big part. We have some big parts here, like the hull of a ship can be maybe, I will talk in centimeters for this case, can be 80 centimeters tall, which is very big. And it can depend. If you want to do dendrochronology, you have to take big samples. But if you want to do a determination of the species of a wood, samples like this, like my finger, can be
That's
perfect.
enough.
Yeah, that's enough.
That's wonderful. That's probably easier to transport too.
Yeah, of course.
Well, let's talk about your experience. I know you were on the Loma shipwreck, and what did you discover there that you can talk about, and what is significant about that find?
The Loma shipwreck is a famous shipwreck in the south of France for French people. So it's 60 feet deep underwater, which is very accessible. And it was a 145 feet long ship, a Genoese ship from Italy, who sailed until his crash in 1516. Wow. So it's a big ship. It was fully excavated in the 90s or 80s, but I was on an operation with a specialist who were studying the lead protection of the ship structure against organism and stuff.
Yeah.
So it was my first excavation, and it's amazing because when you uncover a shipwreck, you can see the planks appearing, and because underwater, you have very short time to walk. On this shipwreck, it was 2 times 40 minutes walk.
Wow.
So very several
teams. You have to gather all that data.
Yeah, exactly. So very several team, and you have to gather the data to work very well, consciousness, and precisely. And when you are going out, when you raise yourself, you can see the shipwreck appearing or part of the ship, and you can see how is it amazing because it's under the sand, and with few blowing, you can find everything. So it was amazing, and we also find some nice stuff, even if it was not the purpose. We find the direction compass, the two tools to measure, and it was not uncovered, even if it was the shipwreck was already all discovered before, but it was beside, and you find a small piece of bronze like this, and it's amazing. And you have to prepare something to take care of these pieces, even if it's not planned.
That's a pretty good first field work, if I say so myself.
Amazing.
During your master's, you mentioned so you got a master's after this in Maritime Archaeology underwater. So during your master's program, you also excavated in ancient harbors of Greece on the Croatian river. So what stood out the most? What was your favorite part of that part of your field work?
It's amazing because there are both different contexts. In Greece, I was in a antique military harbor, which was amazing because you can see even from maps, there is the protecting wall and some tower structures remaining. and all the beach is full of artifacts, like from antique ceramics to Byzantine ceramics. It's amazing. It's surrounded by artifacts, and you can see how the structure is now in the daily life of the inhabitants. Like people were taking sunbathing on the remains of the tower, of the walls. It's really a part of the city. And yeah, it was amazing to see this in the context of nowadays remain, Greek temple ahead because there is an acropolis at the top of the harbor. And in Croatia, it was all different because it was in a river. We were excavating dugouts, so huge wood canoe. And it was kind of amazing because, like the Greek temple, the Greek walls, it was barely under the sediment. So if you dig maybe 10 centimeters, you find it. Even us, we start digging at 80 centimeters deep, and the remain was almost out of the river in the shore. So it was very interesting. And we can see like the dugouts were now in the middle of the industrial city of Croatia, but when you know the story of it, it's in normal context because it was an harbor, Roman and pre-Roman place, stronghold, so amazing. And when you take an attention, maybe more than 10 dugouts were found in this river from 4th century before Christ to 18th century before Christ. So it's just showing that from the beginning of trace of human hair, they are still using dugouts to navigate.
That's incredible. And like you said, because it's underwater, it kept it in great shape all the way to where you guys could review it. What ancient woodwork techniques can you tell us, or that tells us about societies that built and used these vessels or structures? So just looking at like the dugouts, or what are you able to unravel a story that tells you all about the culture and history of what you're looking at?
Yeah, I've done a study of these dugouts for my memoir, and so I analyze it. And when you analyze the way of construction of these dugouts, they are maybe the same in almost all the world. Like we can find the same techniques in North America by the Indians, in India, Asia, or Europe is the same techniques. Like they take a log, and as the center of the log is very hard, they burn it. Like they literally set fire to the log to make coal, and it's way easier to dig it. Or they can use some big stones in water. They put water in the log, big stones, they make it very hot, they put it inside, and it allows to open the wood structure. And yes, when I worked on it, we saw like burning traces remaining of these techniques. You can find some hacks, marks to take some wood inside. So we can see all the marks who made the construction of the ships. Even some cultural practices, like we were working on the big pieces and the wood was already weakened by insect attacks or other stuff. So they made some patches with pieces of softwood or hardwood, and we can see how they made the waterproof effect of the ship, and it's amazing.
So they patched their ships too. Oh, that's incredible.
Yes.
You know, I guess I wouldn't think that's such a wise way to go about it. Instead of just making another one, you just put a wood patch on it, and I guess it would expand underwater and seal it. That's incredible. Have you uncovered any evidence of ancient trade or culture exchange based on like types of wood or construction methods found? I know in biblical archaeology they talk about the cedars of Lebanon often in trade. So do you see something like that in your area of expertise?
I didn't study, but I didn't work on it, but I studied that wood is the center of trade since the beginning of maritime archaeology. Like if you take the Hulburun shipwreck, which is the first shipwreck maybe known in the world, I think it's maybe 1,000 years before Christ. There is traces of ebony wood on it, which was traded before. And also us in maritime archaeology and naval archaeology, it's amazing because you can, when you see a ship and you study the species of wood, you can mark some points the ship stops. We can have a ship from Italy going through Croatia, Greece, France, and you can see some repair, like the patches or using other planks with wood from France, wood from Croatia, wood from Greece. You can redo the road of the ship, and yeah, it's amazing. And
so it's not always locally sourced. Sometimes they go and everywhere on their travels, they use the wood there, whatever's convenient.
Yeah, exactly. It's like this. And even in ship construction tradition, several woods are used. Like there is the oak wood, which is very known for the ship structure. And they can use some resinous, but some resinous are more known in the mountains. So we know that they were going in the mountains to take those woods, and they take back to the sea to make the ships. So there is a huge construction techniques market made to build the ships.
I love that. And I feel like the patches play a really special role, because if they have to patch their ship on their travels, you can tell their trade routes and everything as well. Oh, I love that. So in your opinion, what's the most surprising thing that you've learned from studying ancient shipwrecks or submerged structures? What's your favorite fact?
Fact is, now dendrology is the most, when well done with a big database, it's the best way to set up a date to an artifact. Like you can date the exact year when the wood was cut. So you can, it's amazing. And yeah, wood, by doing the study of wood and underwater archaeology, it's really an opening world. Like when you do archaeology on field, in land, you can act only on your level. You can't fly, you can't act in the center of the site, whereas underwater, you can literally fly. If you want to go check something in the middle of a wreck, with a small breath, you can go and walk in 3 dimensions. It's amazing.
Yeah, wow. Yeah,
like discovering, it's amazing. Like underwater, I loved walking underwater because it's, yeah, you are like an astronaut acting on stuff. You can be very consciousness, preserving stuff, and yeah, it's amazing.
That is incredible. So now let's talk about a little bit about technology and preservation. So, how do you ensure, and I know you do, ethical handling of cultural materials while working in international waters or foreign heritage sites?
Yeah, it's very sensitive question, but it has to be taken in account because, yeah, when we uncover some relics from another country, you have to ask the question if you can cut this piece to take the samples. You have to talk with the locals and the specialists to get the data. It's always sensitive because you can, I know in France it was kind of hard one day because I got a colleague, very old colleague, who was working on an old Russian ship from 18th or 17th century in France. And it was very sensitive because it was during the Cold War. And as he was working in military, he cannot get access or ask data from the ship. So it was always very sensitive data. He told me some process to get the data working with people. And it's always, yeah, depending on the context between the two countries or even locally with the culture, it's always hard and it's hard to be discussed a lot because it can lead to some problems.
Yeah, that can be difficult as an archaeologist to come across something really cool, really interesting, and it's right within your grasp. And then you have to get all that legal red tape to see if you can access it. So you have to be a patient man to work in foreign and international sites. Now, to hone in on you, these are our last 2 questions. As someone early in your career, what advice would you give students interested in everything that they've heard today in underwater archaeology or dendroarchaeology with the wood analysis? How would you inspire them to follow in your footsteps?
I will tell that first of all, focus on making contacts, going to meet people, following congress, talk with people. In France, I don't know in your place, but in France, you can start doing field school on land archaeology since you are 16 years old with parents' agreement. So you can start very early in your life doing archaeology. You can focus on study. You have to know what you want to do. I choose wood because wood is amazing. You are not forced to focus on one period. I worked both on Roman times or modern times. It's amazing. So I will tell people to know what they want to do find people who can help you and who can help you, because it's important. Sharing experience, sharing data, sharing work is amazing. So yeah, focus on doing experiences. It's the most of all and important stuff, experience, because you can be 10 years diver, 10 years underwater archaeologist, you are still learning some stuff, and the sooner you start, the better you will be in the future.
Wonderful. And also, if you, now looking into the future, if you could work on any ancient shipwreck, submerged site in the city, or just anything in archaeology in the world, what do you have your eyes set on? What would it be and why?
I really look abroad now, because in France we have a lot of data, but I know that I would love to work in South America, in lakes, like in the mountain lakes, because the conditions are amazing, food are very well preserved. I would love to work on Mayan city or Mayan ships and stuff in the mountains, like in Titicaca's mountains or stuff.
Oh, nice. Well, hopefully we see you there. It's been a really insightful and incredible interview, and I think that you will have inspired a lot of people to find a future in both underwater archaeology and dendroarchaeology. So this has been a wonderful interview. Again, his name is Thomas Chaput. You can find him on LinkedIn if you have any follow-up questions, or if you'd like to hire him for any future sites that you'd like to have excavated or have an expert like him work on. And we all heard where he'd like to work next. So if you are an archaeologist at that site, you got somebody who wants to come out there. So thank you for joining us today on Bannworth Academy of Ancient News. This interview is going to be available on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and even on TikTok. So be sure to follow along and share in this adventure. As we always say, it belongs in the museum. And remember that we both have a trowel and will travel. Until next time, keep uncovering the past and embracing the adventure.